All right, something that can help a lot of coaches, regardless of their profession, that came up this weekend. And it's all about perception, right? And I think this can help you get out of your own head, especially if you're frustrated, if you feel like you're in a profession that doesn't understand your value or you're constantly having to convince people of your value. So just stay with me here. Human nature is one in that people tend to crave predictability, control, and they also want respect right off the bat. We don't like when we have to prove our worth to others, especially if we're doing something that's super meaningful to us. Here's where this is an issue. Everything in life comes down to perception. And you might not like that, but it is true. There are restaurants certain people love, other people hate. There are certain experts, even if they've gone to medical school and they've done this, or if they've invented it. I mean, hell, even Nobel Prize winners that some people revere and other people think are a hack. There is literally nearly nothing you can do in life to make everybody believe the same thing about you entirely, right? That's not the reality. I mean, there are even monsters in human history that I think the vast majority of the population would say, like, these people were evil, but there's still some people that believe that they were good. That is just humans. Now, it helps to understand what perception is, right? Perception, and this is an empirical definition, right, is the way we encode sensory-oriented experiences. And no two people are ever going to perceive things the same way. So even if you're a strength coach out there and you've won 3 Super Bowls and you've won Olympic championships in weightlifting and you've won all these other things, there are still going to be people that don't perceive you to be an expert, either in your field or externally. That's it. That's it. So the conversation at our workshop this weekend was about an evaluation we're using that assesses, social agility, so to speak, right? And the whole idea is we do tactical applied role playing, which is just real life. Say I'm having a conversation with my boss right now about getting a raise, right? Like we can role play that out. We can practice for that situation. And within our workshops, what we do is we have people role play. Then they have to evaluate themselves on a bunch of interpersonal skills categories. And we have other people in the workshop evaluate how they thought they came across within those categories. So the question was, hey, I just feel like there's an issue here because this evaluation isn't purely objective. And we were trying to help them understand that nothing in life is purely objective. If one of you, heaven forbid, but just as an example, got sent to prison for murder, a murder you did not commit, and then you took 100 polygraph tests, and we know polygraphs can be tricked and all that, but there's objectivity to them, right? No tool on planet Earth is 100% foolproof and ever going to work. But let's say you took 100 to get a baseline, and somehow you were shown in 100 of those polygraphs to be telling the truth. You didn't commit that murder. Guys, you wouldn't just get out of jail based on that. You were put in jail by a jury of your peers who believed via their perception and their interpretation of what was presented in the courtroom that you were guilty. And even if it wasn't a jury of your peers, a judge who has bias could have perceived it that way. So my point is even if you had the most objective measure of anything, whether that's a license, a credential, and these things were infallible, they were foolproof, you would still face social obstacles in your life. And this is why we talk about not only is perception everything, but communication is everything. Because one thing that can help you within this is when you're skilled at what you do and you're also skilled at interacting with others, that's ultimately the alchemy of excellence. But you can't be skilled at interacting with others if you don't know how you come across to them. And how you come across to them is inherent to the subjectivity of their experience with you. Even if you talk about something like communication, if a communication professor watched 2 people in South Boston talk to each other casually, and let's say they're talking super quickly, way faster than the research says somebody should speak if they want to be understood. They're using a lot of slang. They have inappropriate tone of voice in accordance with what the research says is most pleasant, right? Like they could still be very, very effective within their context. Conversely, you could go to a professor of communication and he could speak at the what the research says is the best tonality, the best cadence, all these things, but somebody else could perceive him as a poor communicator. And I think that I lose my mind with this a little bit because there's an audience out there that I think is just being lied to. They're being sold this idea that if you get this credential and this certification or you get this job or whatever, that everybody's going to believe you're an expert. So they nearly kill themselves to do it. And what I mean by kill themselves is There's people that put themselves in tough financial situations, tough situations with their significant other, all in search of this holy grail of objectivity and the thing that's going to make them the best at what they do. Guys, 3 things are going to make you the best amongst the best at what you do. Yes, your technical prowess, but also your conceptual ability, how you solve problems creatively, divergent thinking, and then your interpersonal skills. That's always going to take you over the top. Because when you do understand how you come across, when you do understand perception, when you do understand the importance of subjectivity in life, then you're going to be a better and more adaptive communicator because you deal with the world as it is, not as you would like it to be. And this also goes hand in hand with people needing to understand how to think instead of what to think. But when we have workshops and courses and books that teach people what to think instead of putting them in experiential situations where they've got to learn, fail, reflect, and repeat, we're never going to develop critical thinkers. And that is another reason we teach via the use of improv. We use the role playing. We use video analysis. We even record people when they're communicating in real time, and we'll help them get transcripts and break down their communication there. If you're not doing that, how can you ever know when you're the problem? So quit wondering about like, man, where can I find pure objectivity? Not in this world. Not in this world you can't. Not when it comes to relationships with people and how they perceive you. You will always be judged. You will never be able to remove bias. You will never be able to remove ego. It doesn't mean it's not worth studying. As a matter of fact, it's very much worth studying because then you understand the fallacy of trying to go after pure objectivity, right? You have to be socially agile because people are going to interpret it. So here's what I'm going to leave you with. You'd be far better asking yourself these questions, and you've already heard me mention them. Whenever you get in a point where you're stuck, especially interpersonally, think first, where am I the problem? If more people just did that and they asked themselves, where might I be the problem? They would get a lot further. Also think about, and these two go hand in hand, how might I be coming across? And I don't know how some of you, and I say this lovingly, but with conviction, think you're going to answer those questions when you don't train communication. When you don't go, and I'm totally biased here, what do you know? Like, this is why we created our workshops, because this stuff costs me in life. When you don't get around your peers and accept criticism from them, and at least in our workshops, people, they go there wanting to help you, right? That's a nice thing. And in our workshops, like, people want to help you. So even if you're like, I have no confidence, I'm introverted, I'm freaked out, you have a whole audience of people that want to help you. They're going to give you constructive feedback and then model that behavior and give you insight that you're never going to get. In the real world, right, not many people are going to help you. You're just not going to get that job because they thought you were an asshole. Or you're not going to get that opportunity because they thought something else about you. And most of them won't ever tell you. How many of you have applied for a job or something like that and you didn't get it and they didn't even really give you feedback, or they just said, it's not a fit. So we need more people to engage on a hands-on, experiential, subjective approach of learning how to interact in real time. Otherwise, all we're going to do is continue to have a world where people need to be saved instead of helped because they want to be told what to think instead of how to think. Hopefully this makes sense. I know it's a lot. I know it's upsetting to some people. I know that, again, in our desire for control, we just wish that, oh man, if there's only a licensure, a skill, a tool, a rating, a ranking, a scoring, a system, an emblem, something else that could show that I'm great at this and nobody would question me. I know that you want that. But like I said, and like I'll end this with, you can either learn how to deal with the world as it is or how you'd like it to be. And I'll tell you which one's more efficacious, dealing with it as it is. Hope this helps. Send it to somebody. Rant complete.